Hello, welcome. Nicholas, Sparkles of Gold. A check-in, a surprise live stream check-in. I hope audio's coming in clear. You'll let me know. Talk about the transits of today, even some of the stuff that's happened this past week astrologically into next week. I thought I'd do a live stream here on a Saturday afternoon, early evening for many of you in the United States. And we'll just keep it together. As you know, for those who are used to my live streams, I just go on the flow. I got my own way, my own opinions, and that's very important to be in my own way. I think it's very important for you to be in your own way or to get out of your own way. One thing I've realized before I jump into this stream, and I'm waiting for people to come in, who are going to get the notification. One thing I will say off the bat here in general is, there's many astrologers or people studying astrology. And the beautiful thing about that is we all have our interesting insights and viewpoints and connections that we make, right? And how we view astrology and the philosophical basis and who our teachers from and what type of astrology and what we come up with and all that type of stuff. And the one thing about it is, everyone gets to do that, right? The thing that happens afterwards, I think, is interesting. And I think it's a thing that's happened over the last maybe 14 years gradually on the internet, and what has become intense the last 5 or 6 years on the internet when it comes to astrology and people's ways of doing things. And we all have a profile or a channel or a newsletter, a blog, a Patreon, and everybody does their thing, right? And the one thing I think it's very important for me to state right now is, and I already see y'all in chat. The one thing for me that's to say off the bat, especially if you're new here and you want to know about the transits, is I have my way. And, I am so rebellious with my way, like internally, that there's glimpses of that happen externally. And I know a lot of people in the astrological community, and I've been inspired over the years by some of the things I've seen or watched or read. And I actually, if I think about all the content I've taken in astrologically, I say 20 of it has been very relevant for me. The rest of it is a repeat or things that a lot of us say in general, or some of it I just don't vibe. Now, there's that part. Then there's the people, the personality behind the words or the view of it all, and that's a whole nother thing. And so for me, I kind of declaring here for myself and for you on the channel that to reinforce and to reestablish and say, I do things my way on this channel, in my view, and I've become very comfortable with it. 4 years ago on YouTube, maybe I wasn't as much, and I've gone back and forth, but I think I'm finding my groove, and I like it. And there are those who aren't gonna like it, right? And sure, let's go. Go the other way. Like, there's plenty of stuff for you to connect with. The key is when boundaries are crossed and people have a need to get in someone else's way or like get in their lane. And I think this is interesting because I actually feel it's part of the astrology in the last week and what's coming up here of like the lanes that we've been in or so-called been in together. There are our own autonomous lane that we're creating or reestablishing or redoing, which I encourage you to redo your autonomous lane and to protect your autonomous lane. And then how that will happen here in the future this year in communities and people, regardless of what's the astrology community, esoteric community. But you see the changes happening. You see those who don't give a damn, and in one sense, and just creating their autonomous lane, and more power to you. Even if I don't agree with the way you do things, you stick to your thing, your crew, and your community. It's when people start crossing in and purposely and getting in your own lane. And that is a no-no for me. So saying that, I want you to think about it in other parts of your life. And, we create our autonomous places, hopefully with the sense of safety and security involved and protection, because it's our home base or it's our temple or it's a place where we stand free without something getting in the way. But there's certain types of narratives and situations where even when you do that, there are outside forces that want to come in, take over, change what you think and feel, or control what you think and feel. And I think we have seen this in the world it's always been there, but I think we've seen it a lot in the first couple weeks of this year, whether it's in different countries that are going through massive upheavals right now. You know, I can think of Iran right now. I wish I knew what was going on over there. I try my best to find out because I know some people over there. Or it's in different countries, or, you know, whether the United States involvement in Venezuela, which is not just recently, it's been a history of this. You could come up with anything in history. You could think about the interpersonal relationships in your life. You could think about a person walking down the street here who's got a green card in the United States, and he is impeded upon, he's taken from his autonomous space. So I want you to think about what this means for you in general in your lives, because it's a theme. And I'll talk about some of why I'm saying this today, and the transits are even happening today. I'll bring it up. I'm definitely going to say what's up to everybody in chat. I'm waiting for people to jump in on here. Let me pop this out because this is the way I do it. And let's just jump in. Hold on a second. I need to, my computer's chugging away here. It's a little unhappy right now. It's trying to process. It's trying to process what I'm doing right now. So, saying that, let me get rid of this. I will go to here. Where is my little window? I'll put it right there. That's the transits of right now. Here is my little window, and I will view this and zoom in. Yeah, let's do it that way. I want to say hi to Scorpio 6X Astrology, who's a channel member. Hey, how are you? Lisa Michelle, good morning in Australia. How's it going over there? I've had some conversations with friends there. I know Victoria has had a massive heat wave going on down there in the southeast parts of Australia with massive fires and crazy wind. I saw it hit 30-something plus Celsius the other day, or 114 degrees. Down in certain parts of Victoria. I was just like, I saw a little bit of cooling off, but I know the winds aren't dying down. I hope you're good there, Lisa Michelle. I know there's smoke in the air. I follow everything Australian because I was there twice this past year and I love it over there and I have friends over there. So, you know, I just want to say what's up. Take care of yourselves. You know, in the Pacific Northwest here, last 4 or 5 years, there's a period in the summertime where we've been getting smoke, and depending on the winds from Canada or the Cascades or Northern California when there's forest fires, it's hot and there's smoke in the air and you can't go outside. It's really nasty. One of these climate change people, you know, it's raining a lot more in LA these days. It's a thing, and so I know it's a thing over there in Australia. So blessings to everybody over there. Strings of Apollo, it's good to see you here on saying what's up. You're at a cozy coffee shop. Eat a chocolate chip cookie for me, will ya? Agent Mitten from LA, hello, hi. I hope some sun's gonna come your way. It's been raining there a lot last 2 months. The sun's coming. Isha, hello. They're up north. Happy New Year to you. And before I jump in and show some charts, I need to adjust something on my stream because it's driving me crazy. And I need to refresh the screen you're going to see here. That's what I want to see. And that's what I need to know. And as I configure this, that's what I need to do right there. Okay, so saying that, hi, who else I got in here? Violet Content Boutique, hello, Happy New Year to you with purple hearts. And someone's washing dishes, which is, by the way, washing dishes is one of my meditative practices. I actually love washing dishes, and I have a thing against dishwashers, except when there's a big party. Saying that, I should have posted my stream on Facebook here. I might pull that off while we're working and let people know what I'm doing here in a second. As I look down on my second screen, I am going to do that, and I'll jump in. You can already see what I'm looking at this chart, by the way, and that's today. We are looking at a major configuration that's been brewing for 2 weeks now. It's been happening all week, this Mercury-Mars-Sun conjunction activity, rebirth mode, bringing stuff up. Now, but it's enhanced by Jupiter there. And give me a second here while I do share this to Facebook. You're not going to see what I'm doing, but I need to do it because I need to hit my Pluto and Virgos, Pluto and Libras, and Pluto and Leos over there. They're very active still on Facebook as a generational platform. By the way, if you're the type of person who's like Facebook is dead, it's kind of gone through a weird resurgence, if you could believe this. I follow a lot of social media things, and yeah, it's kind of funny, like, and a lot of people are getting traction there again, if you can believe this. So I'm posting on there. So yeah, so I see, so let's get into it here right now. By the way, in chat, let me know if the sound's coming in, because I think it is. I think it's coming in good. But we're going to do the traditional thing whenever I start a stream here, is I'm going to get rid of these, get rid of something here and make this a blank chart. And then to really see things. Here we have the sun in Capricorn at 20 degrees. We have Mars at 20 degrees. It was earlier this morning Pacific time that we had a Mars. No, let me get this correct. It was about more than 24 hours ago, like 3:41 a.m. on the 9th that we had the Mars-Sun conjunction. But what's happening here, what we've been building towards this week, and we've seen it pop off politically, we have Jupiter 20 degrees that's retrograde. And by the way, whenever you see Jupiter retrograde like this, if you have clear skies, it's at its brightest. It's been bright, even in December. I was somewhere down south in December. I remember walking out of this pub or whatever else, and I remember the first thing to do when I walked out the door at night, and it was clear skies and Jupiter was staring right at me. So if you have clear skies for the last month to tonight, Jupiter's retrograde. It's in the part there, and it's opposite the sun today, which is pretty much the closest, brightest we can get during the Jupiter transit. So Jupiter is a force right now. So when we deal with retrograde stuff, like with Saturn retrograde or Jupiter retrograde, there's these points where it's really intense and really pushing, especially with Jupiter, it's magnification in Cancer. And so here we have it opposite Mars. And that's what officially happened this morning, you know, at 6:25 a.m. We officially at 12 midnight Pacific time here, we had the sun opposite Jupiter. Venus is in on this too, because officially Venus did this, or Venus was conjunct the sun Tuesday on the 6th. And then we had Mars-Venus conjunction during the week. And then we did, you know, we have this Venus-Jupiter that happened about 24 hours ago. It's still happening. And basically you have, if we didn't look at this, okay, we'll just kind of X this out. But if we just looked at this, we know then that from a Mars point of view, we're ending like a 2-year cycle here. And it's part of a bigger cycle, but when these planets are in the heart of the sun or in the rays of the sun or the beams of the sun, have they been right in the middle of it? But they were there coming up here to 15, 16, 17 degrees before it hit the sun. And even after, it's going to take a while. You know, they pretty much sort of get muted out by the sun. And so you can look at this from a burning down to its essence way of looking at things, right? You can look at down as in like, because it's burned down to its essence, in a sense, it has its own type of magnified power in that essence place. And then that's when you would bring in a Jupiter situation that magnifies that burning down to its core. And they're going back and forth in an opposition. So that's how I look at it. And so since Jupiter is very prominent and visual in the sky, I think it has magnified matters, and it's happened this week and the week before. As soon as we came into the year, as soon as the planets started to enter Capricorn, basically, is when this started to happen. And so we have more of this. I, in particular, want these personal planets of Venus and Mars and Mercury eventually to move away from the conjunction, but move away from the opposition, right, from Jupiter. But it's going to take a little bit. We still got to do Mercury. I will talk about that for the transits of next week. But we're setting the stage up. Now, let's be real. Let's be real here and jump right in. And I want to say hello to JD Sendevers for my first super chat donation of the year, at least on YouTube. Thank you. And JD says, hoping for some ideas how to optimize the potential with this upcoming Capricorn new moon. I wasn't going to touch on the Capricorn new moon. Maybe I will at the very end of this. I was going to say that for another video, but I'll do it. Hey, I see, who else in here? Tinyak 5824. I see Kiara. Blessings to you. Kiara's in chat. Good to see y'all. Denise is here from the UK. They're up late with me over there for a Saturday night, late night stream in the UK. Good to see you, Denise. All right. Maybe you're having a nice warm cup of tea. So saying that, let's to go right back into things. And you know what? I got to do this. There's a heart. And thanks, Violet, for the hand or the sound confirmation. All right, so we got a setup. Now, I started the stream talking about autonomous lanes and safety and security, right? I started talking about that stuff, and I was like, hopefully you were getting the picture of why I was saying stuff like this, because that's what we deal with when we deal with the sign of Capricorn and Cancer. The thing they have in common is how they achieve security and safety and foundational work. You know, Cancer is going to do it through the moon and through emotional narratives and things that are tied to memory and ancestry, right? And in a sense, the carried stories of what lineages are, and part of the security that's carried through, and the safety and the traditions. But so does Capricorn. Capricorn doesn't do it presents in an emotional moon way. It does it in a Saturn way. And that's a different story. And that is dealt with safety and security that is built almost sometimes internally, but externally, as in a reflection of things, of what we do internally with Cancer, let's say from an emotional sense, from a Saturnian external things of building, configuring, restructuring, goal setting. And so we do it brick by brick with Capricorn. And Capricorn is from an Earth Saturnian element, is not necessarily going to be spilling over tears and memory. It's more about lineages. It's more like Game of Thrones, you know, kind of stuff where they're like, you know, house this must carry it on for 2,000 years. We've carried on the story, and you must carry these traditions to do this thing, you know. But we got our own modern versions of this stuff. Oh, when you're 18, you're supposed to go to college, and at this point, at some point, you're supposed to do this, depending on the world or nation or community or religion someone's part of. They have these things and these moments and are kind of set up in time increments, Saturn. And you know, like, this is what you do at this time, and this is what you do at that time. And to do this, it gives you strength and stability in the world so you can survive and have this sense of purpose and blah, blah, blah. You know, it's funny. It's how we do things from Cancer to Capricorn, but that's what they have in common. So when we have things like what's happening the last couple of weeks and things popping off politically, whether it's in Iran right now, where they shut off the internet, by the way, for the last 48 hours. I can't get a hold of anybody there right now. It's a particular person that I know there who's an amazing, amazing practitioner. I don't know when that's going to get turned on. They got their own thing about like the intensity of like the theocracy there and how government is working, and they go through this over there. You have things that are happening, I don't have to tell you, in the United States, where you have a government with a rhetoric and the thing of going back and making things great again, and the extreme authoritative push, whether it's changing of laws or through the Supreme Court or through the Homeland Security and through ICE, who are supposedly upholding the law and breaking the law at the same time. I should put a link in here if somebody wants to go deep on DHS stuff. I read this incredible article this morning, just talks about the history. This was being done before in the Biden administration and the Obama administration. They were deporting people there. It's just the translation of the law when it has to do with the expedition of people, and how I'll drop the link in the comments. Regardless, it's this thing about, think about what I'm saying, Homeland Security, right? And so we're dealing with different versions in our own ways of looking at it. And then we have those in power trying to impose, coming into your autonomous lane and tell you this is the way it should be. And some of it's based on something from some of it in the white America past that they don't like. And so they're trying to reinforce it again, right? So here's the past bringing up. Whatever's for better or worse, if you get to be somewhat objective about this and you take a step out, we're dealing with Cancer and Capricorn. It's on the stage right now. And Jupiter here is magnifying all of these stories here on the opposite end. Now, if we don't look at the political end of it, and you look into the Cancer, Capricorn parts of your chart, especially if you're the type of person who has planets, degrees, certain things in cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, let's say, I would not doubt, I don't doubt whatsoever that you are going through stories right now that have to do with this. Taking responsibility. Some responsibilities foisted upon you. You can't stand it. You don't like the temporary rule sets that are given to you. You don't know how to do it. You're in fear of it. So, it's a turning in on your shoulders. I don't want to deal with this. You got to deal with it. Now, saying that, if we look to where Saturn is in the sky, here in Pisces, 26 degrees, we see these planets are about to do sextiles to them eventually. And that's what is the new moon coming up basically is going to happen on the 18th is going to be about this, because we'll have Saturn at 28 degrees and the sun and moon at 28 regardless. And we know Neptune is ending a 14-year cycle here on the 27th within weeks here. Within weeks. Now, my little thought process about this is we know that Saturn and Neptune are ending cycles. A Saturn cycle in Pisces for 2.5 years, a Neptunian one for 14 years. When we deal with Pisces, my version of it, the last sign of the zodiac, the last degrees of the zodiac, we're dealing with the end of things. And when we deal with the end, if I say this to you, people are going to have a different feeling about me saying the end of things. So if I said right now, I'm like, it's the end of things. There's a lot of people making money on YouTube with the end of things. They're talking about some asteroid in the sky coming to drop aliens or to bring the apocalypse. You got every like half of right-wing Christian America who believes in the end of things. They'll come up with anything, and so they're going to sell you some like end of things like survival kits because they're grifters, okay? So saying that the end of things, it could mean different things to different people. The end of a cycle, is it the end of things? Like, I can't do anything, I'm helpless. What one does and how they stand with the end of things is crucial. Some people are spiritual with this. They understand, and not in an authoritative, aggressive way like some of the examples I gave you, but as in when we deal with the most natural cycle of life, death and rebirth, literally and in life with things and with stories and narratives in our lives. And what do we do when we're at the end? And there's many ways to deal with it. I'm one of these people who are like, I'm looking back. What did happen through this whole thing now that we're at the end of the Piscean cycle? What did happen the last 2.5 years in the Pisces part of my chart? What happened the last 14 years as a collective with Neptune and Pisces? Pisces stuff, the keywords you're going to come across, you're going to see typically come up these days quickly. Spiritual or illusions or all-encompassing or all or nothing, as I say. And a water sign that's mutable, that can take on different identities and become that identity, just like water can permeate things or take different forms, from an ice cube to a flood to a tsunami to a slow drip permeating into wood, and something comes from that place. You can look at this many different ways. Again, I am one of these people like, oh, we're at the end. We're at the end. Are we at the end? What did we do the last 14 years as a collective? Let's just say inherently, psychically, psychically, how we've been intertwined. If you think about the external intertwinement that happened, it was the internet and like how it was magnified. 14 years ago, just before that, MySpace was top of the game social media wise. It was within the year that Neptune went into Pisces that Facebook did a massive push and had massive investment and took over pretty much the #1 spot of MySpace. And it was from there. And for people who've been around know what happened with Facebook and how we were intertwined, how we would share links, and even things, how we were getting our news. It was Twitter and Facebook and how it spread and how we were communicating back and forth. And eventually things started to get ramped up of add the mobile phone to all this, because before we were dealing mostly with desktops and laptops. But the mobile phone became predominant through this. And so we were able to move from here and there, I'm saying from a mutable perspective, here and there in our real world, and at the same time be in a virtual world at the same time. So like a mutable world. It's like we're going back and forth. So for me, how I've been thinking about this, it then kept going and get bigger. And there's so many transits that happen with the Neptune and Pisces thing. We had a Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, that happened with when Jupiter was in Pisces, right? And so we had many things. But what has become of all that, of how we are supposedly all one, and what has become? And for me, I feel that I see finally, I think some of the distraction and the illusionary part of what Neptune can do. And I think in the weirdest of ways over time, Neptune kind of dissolves things, but first tricks you. It's almost like you are in an illusionary bubble first. You don't know something's getting dissolved while it's happening. And I think here, at the end of the cycle and what's happening, that we're starting to understand. And so basically, when Neptune goes into Aries on the 27th, and Saturn goes into Aries here on February 13th, and on the 20th, when in February, Neptune and Saturn get together, I think we start to see the dissolving and the breaking down of the illusion that we've been in the last 14 years. Now, I could come at this from a creative end and say beautiful, incredible things have happened through our connection to each other spiritually and psychically. That's for another stream. But as for dealing with realities, because that's what I'm into this week. I'm more into the Saturn point of view of things, because I feel that Saturn is the one that is showing us the reality, that Neptune's under it all, but Saturn's carrying that. And if Saturn's influencing this Capricorn, and has a couple months ago with grand water trines with Jupiter and Cancer, I feel there's the bigger picture of who we are collectively and what that means beyond structure and borders. Beyond that, I think Saturn brings structure and borders, but I think it has to do with a structure and a code that has to deal with like what is more than us, what is bigger than me and you, like the big thing, right? So for me, it's the end of something major. And we're about to enter a place here for the first part of the year where I think people, and I think they're already seeing it. We've seen it this week here in the streets of Minnesota, where someone was shot by the authority, imposing. They unalive, they murdered this person. And we have to think about what they're doing and why and how they're going in and all this stuff. And it's easy. It's easy for the last so many years to have your outcry on the internet, to have your thing and say. But that's not enough anymore, is it? Thank the goddess for video archives, but that is even having now, when you looked at videos the last 2 weeks of whatever news story, you have to sit there and like, it says in the comments, is this real or is it AI? You're having to discern when it never used to be a thing, or maybe it's this thing of like, we're about to step out of something and we're in this liminal place in the end of things. So for me on this little rant that I'm giving you, and it's not that big of a rant actually, I don't think, but it's a thing of like, can you understand where you stand in your autonomous zone? You must define that first. You must know what is real here. And I'm going to tell you, it's not on the fucking internet, okay? It's not there. It's you opening up the window. It's you walking outside and going, touching and smelling your senses and like, where do I stand? If you are looking for clarity, you start there. I'm not guaranteeing you everything, but I would start there because that is as real as it gets. And the more we deal with the internet and whatever, and having to spend our energy and time to discern what is real on the internet, we are walking away from nature. You could disagree with me on this. Doesn't matter. I'm just saying, if we're recognize that we're at the end of eras and we're about to go in something intense, and it's how you use it. Other people will use Saturn in Aries and Neptune in Aries to push forward as war is to stay the line and bring the troops in. Fight for this. Yep, that's a thing. What is it for you? What's it going to be for you? Do you know now, after the last 2.5 years of Pisces transits or the eclipses that we had last spring when we were at 28, 29 degrees, when this Piscean stuff was at the same degrees that you see here on the screen? Did you kind of see and check yourself of where you stand and what life is and why the hell you're on the planet and what the purpose is? I hope you have. I would really think about this, because this, along with stepping outside into nature, can help you define things and then set up your autonomous zone. Then you know, and I'll bet you, once you do that, it doesn't solve everything, but it's old school shit. I know where I stand. Agree with me or not, it's my zone. I know where I stand. I'm not lying to myself. I'm not getting tricked by a scroll and a swipe. No, I don't have to even look at that. I just, this is who I am. I like this smell. I like the way this feels. These are my people. These are my crew. We believe in something. What do we believe in? A lot of times when we're dealing with belief, we're dealing with Jupiter. So there's this enhanced story of believing in what is past and story that we're carrying, and this conflict between structure. All people are searching for security. They're scared. Other people are, building upon it. What is it for you? I don't know. But if you're looking for a clue, look at the big picture is what I'm saying, and just get yourself together, literally, physically, and take care of yourself. That's a way to start off a stream and a rant and a thing. And let's jump into the week's transits. I want to say hi to, I say hi to Denise. It's late. Bed tea. MC Grooves 7's here. Been a while. It has been. Lisa Michelle, good to see you. Salt and vinegar's in here. You'll have it with your morning coffee. Good. Chocolate with the morning coffee. Waving Cat, a channel member, is in here. Sun, Jupiter opposition today, Moon opposite Jupiter, or Mars opposite Jupiter. That's an inflammatory aspect. Things have been inflamed this week. Please, I know many of us are riled up and we're ready to go and it's all there. But strategically, think long term. You need a short term cycle? Think the next 2 months. Take the energy. If you're feeling out of sorts or magnified emotionally, we all are. What are you going to do? Take care of yourself. Is it the tea? Is it the miso broth that I have with kombu that I'm going to do later on? Whatever it is, find it. Does it mean that you suck because you're not out on the streets or you're pissed off or whatever? There's plenty of time where that coming ain't going away. It's gauging what you can and cannot do, where you're at your best. And if you're in a position where it's shocking, because that's what they're doing, they're shocking you out of your natural autonomous zone, then that's when we start to do things out of sorts. And for those out there who seem to be in the moment on the ground who are resisting and stuff, we support them. Their time to rejuvenate will come, and it'll be time for other people to step out when they're ready, strong, coming from their autonomous zones. So saying that, that's my way of starting the 10th. We'll get into the 11th, which will bring us to something that's in this chart that I didn't mention, but I will. And it has to do with Chiron. And this is interesting here because Chiron, for those who are Aries people, these degrees and mid cardinal degrees from 19 to 24, man, it's intense. It's intense for you all. You got a Chiron story and Jupiter and like all these Capricorn planets squaring your world. I mean, it's pretty much a T-square, as they would say, that's what they would call this. This is wound up intensity. And for some Aries people, they've been having the wounds exposed, or they're the ones doing triage on everybody. Don't let anybody tell you that Aries people don't care and they're all about themselves. They care for people. That's the people you want on the front lines with you. They'll be right there if something happens. If they're a well-balanced Aries, they'll be right there to help you up, pick you up, put their arm around your shoulder, carry you, do whatever. It's not just the Cancers who are going to feed you the soup, the Aries too, especially those in late 40s, early 50s, they're going through the Chiron returns right now. You want to talk about somebody who might look getting older or they might have wounded. They're the ones for advice. They're the ones who can hold your head and do the cranial sacral on your shit. They're the ones. And because they know, they've been dealing with the Chiron and Aries transit, these wounds coming up and how to deal with it. Regardless, when you have this brewing this week where there's wounds, exposed, this is part of the game and part of the playing field right now with the transits here in the last week. So that is officially, basically Venus will square Chiron here, and this will happen. You see it right here. It happens. Sun's going to do this. Mars is going to do this. It's happening right now. Mercury's eventually going to do it. We get into the 12th. And right here, you're going to see that the sun then does it, right? This little guy. Man, my little thing is not working today. It just doesn't want to. I don't know what the deal is, but my little thing is like, my purple arrow doesn't want to work. Sun will square Chiron at 12:31 p.m. The moon, this whole time while I'm talking, we got moon. You could see the moon in Scorpio now. It was in Libra this weekend. So just to backtrack here, let me do something here just to let me get it together here. This is right now. This is why we have things built up the last couple days. Just to do it. You have Chiron at 22, and there's Jupiter. There's the moon. There's all the Capricorn stuff. This is a grand cardinal square, as they call it. The moon triggers this stuff. It is not the easiest of transits when stuff like this happens. When all 4 cardinal signs are involved, or if it was all 4 fixed signs, whatever, you have this need to push forward or to do something or to tag. The moon in Libra is going to come across tactfully, it seems, but there's something brewing under the surface. They're also pushing the pawns on the board. Don't mess with Libras. They're the biggest chess players you will meet. Don't be fooled about the pleasant appearance and the tone of voice. They're ruthless when they need to be. Well, in this case, you know, today or on this weekend, we're dealing with the moon in Libra, and it's ruled by Venus in Capricorn. There is a very hardcore rule professionalism to all this, and there ain't no tears. Secretly, though, behind all the Capricorn energies, fucking worried, and they're clinging on to things, and they're in fear, or they're worried, or whatever. They're just trying to do things to make sure the problem is solved, or whatever. And the Jupiter and Cancer is like magnifying. Oh, I could keep going. Let's just go. Let's just... yeah, whatever, you know. January 12th, you see the moon's in Scorpio doing some harmonious aspects with water and Jupiter. We get into the 14th, and here we go officially now. Here is where I think it gets really interesting here. If we even look at the political events from the last 2 weeks, it's Mercury now that's going to be opposite. If my annotator is going to work, my computer is chugging away today. It's not handling this. Mercury opposite Jupiter. So everything that we've seen in the last 10 days, now there is more talk and more rhetoric. More about, is there negotiation? Possibly. But I see more of like, people are using words, Mercury, in Capricorn, where it is like, no, this is the law, or this is the rules, or this is the thing that is supposed to be enforced or not, or whatever else. And Jupiter is magnifying that and magnifying the story of this sense of safety and security for better or worse. People needing to protect their autonomous zones, or situations where people are encroaching on people's zones. And now it's done with the word. So we have the word now on the internet, and what's true and what's not, or this is the law, and debating of this, and things are going to go to the Supreme Court or whatever else. You go to other countries and what they're dealing with right now in the Euro bloc, and whatever the case is, I'm not a mundane astrologer. I do a little bit, but again, just look into your interpersonal lives. There's a lot of conversations that are going to happen here, and they're going to be inflated. And Jupiter inflates things. And if it's coming from Jupiter and Cancer, it's going to deal with safety and security. And then we're dealing with it when the moon is pretty much in Sagittarius when this is happening here on the Tuesday and a Wednesday. The moon goes into Sag, which is also Jupiter ruled. It's ruled by Jupiter. It's going to be big. It's going to be the philosophical debate, right? What happens here, or where we can go, or this could be possible. But what about this? And da-da-da. Hence the debate. Fuck, it's like, there's a debate every day on the internet. I hate it. Hate it. Anyway, so talking about that, we have a Jupiter Mercury opposition that's going to happen at 12:17 a.m. on Pacific on the 14th, and you have something here, and then finally I'm like, oh my God, is there something that we can work with all this BS? And it is, and it's the thing that I at this point you could see here. It's the 13th. Let me get this straight. Let me just do this correctly. I might have lied a little. Here's the 14th. Here we see, I mentioned Mercury, Jupiter, but here's where we have, by the way, Mercury opposite Jupiter is on the 14th, 12:17 a.m. And then later brewing that day, we're brewing is finally we might get a little bit of something, and it has to do with Venus sextile Saturn. And this now we start to set up the new moon that's going to happen in Capricorn on the 18th. But as this moon keeps moving in Sag, we're going to get into the moon in Capricorn. I will point that we will be in a balsamic moon phase, okay? So we'll get to that. Venus, there's an opportunity, it's with sextiles, for water and earth to communicate here. And I think Saturn and Pisces might show the bigger picture of it all in a condensed way. Like, what the hell did you learn the last 2.5 years in the Pisces part of your chart? And trying to say that to the Capricorn part of the world. Like, hey, there's something more to all this as a collective, right? There's something more to this. Can there be a way in this ending place? Can we envision? I think it is actually natural at the end of things to think about what is coming new. You cannot separate death and rebirth. You can. And again, I'm one of these people like, oh, this is the end, and we have to sit in it and acknowledge it. Come on, if you think about the end of things, doesn't the mind or doesn't the self go, the end? So this happens. We must tie this up or come to terms with this for this to happen, whatever that is, and to allow ourselves to do something like that. And it's a dance that we do in liminal places, and it is the dance that we're doing this month. Because I did a video, a couple weeks ago. It's 10 days ago about the full moon in Cancer, and I talked about the bridge that needs to be built, and that Saturn was building the bridge from the past emotional stories, but having to use the Capricorn transits to build. And while we're processing the past and in the liminal space, we are in the same time crossing the bridge. The two things are working at the same time. So a lot of the astrology of this month is bridging us to something new, to the Aries stuff that's about to happen. Here we have a major part in the bridge building, and I think it's decent and positive. It doesn't last long. It's not dramatic, but it is Venus and Saturn connecting decently here. And as we know then the sun is going to do this, and Mars, and eventually Mercury is going to do it. And it's all on the way out. It's all on the last degrees of Pisces. It's all to close the door. So again, then 10:18 p.m. on the 14th and into the 15th, we have Saturn sextile Venus. And then we got a little, Venus is kind of interesting next week, because basically if I go the next day, these charts aren't going to be exact, but if I go the next day and I'm paying attention to Venus, and I'm like, I know 28 degrees Earth, I know what that is. That means something to me who follow astrology. We know then, oh my gosh, it doesn't want to do it. We know that Uranus has been here, still retrograde here, and Uranus, Venus do a trine. And it will be the last time that we do an Earth-based trine like this with Uranus, because things are about to change here quickly with Uranus in the next couple months. And so Venus not only connects with Saturn, but it has a trine with Uranus. I think this is behind the scenes type of thing. I don't think it's that obvious with outer body planet transits. I think it's behind the scenes. But there's something and somewhere of how we stand on planet Earth from an Earth-based way. And Uranus here is like, hey, here's a little something extra for you. Here's a little different way of looking at it. Here's a different thing. But it's not it's not cerebral, right? It's Earth, it's Taurus, it's practical, it's straightforward. And if anything, any Taurus out there, you've had an interesting run the last 8 years, because Uranus has been there since 2018. All of your lives have been changed. You and the Scorpios, I know. And then we did eclipses in Scorpio and Taurus, and along with Uranus, and all this crazy stuff. Finally, it's going to end here in April, right? So here, though, we have a beautiful connection between the two. I think it's subtle. Some might say some kind of out of the blue Uranus type of thing is going to happen with something like this. I get it, but I actually think it's subtle. I actually think it's Earth. For those who have planets at this degree, I think you see it the most. And by the way, it's not a surprise story. I think it's an ongoing story between the Taurus and Capricorn parts of your chart. You will bring in the Pisces part of your chart as like the place to kind of not bridge it together, you know what I mean? So for those specifically out there with planetary degrees in Pisces at 28, 27, 29, this particular transit you take this one, and you're going to take it when Mars does this too. So anyway, 7:22 on the 15th a.m. Pacific time. Man, my computer's chugging away, and I got a new computer I got to set up to deal with this. We have Venus trine Uranus. And then, you know, for quick thing, is it going to let me? It's not going to let me do it. My computer is like, what are you doing, dude? We see here then, we have the square that happens. We did Mars, Chiron, Mercury, Chiron now. That happens later on the 15th at 10:20. We're on the 16th. Next Friday already. We're midpoint through the season, by the way. There's a lot of things that end on the 15th, by the way. When I'm done with this forecast, I'm going to tell you about some astrological community things you should know about that kind of end in the next week and a half that are very important. I think that could help some of you. So we'll get to that part of it. And so basically we get to the 16th, moon goes into Capricorn. That's when we start to do the conjunctions and the sextiles between here. And we start to enter, we're in the balsamic moon phase. So basically before we do the new moon here, we see on the Friday, I think moon goes into Capricorn 3:47 a.m. on my Friday the 16th. There it is. And eventually is going to make a conjunction and go through here through the weekend of next weekend to do the new moon at 28 degrees. Venus is kind of the scout planet now. It's moving pretty fast. It does the Venus-Sun conjunction, right? I think it's Sun's trying to catch up. It did that earlier last week. But here, you know, we see what Venus is doing. It's about to go into a beautiful favorite place of mine, into Aquarius. We're saying goodbye. And a lot of way we're going to say goodbye here is with Neptune, with Venus, Neptune sextiles after connecting with Saturn. We get into the 17th, and I guess I have to do next. I'm going to do a separate video for the new moon, but here's on the 17th, and now you get to see what the hell's really going on here. It is officially at 12:33 a.m. Let me do this the right way. My computer is not happy. 12:30, and I'm gonna look at chat in a second. See, I'm pressing buttons and it doesn't want to move. I see Canada Dry in here, by the way. Scorpio Muse. I'll get to this in a second. Got some old schoolers in here. People who've been with me for a couple of years coming in the chat. Hold on. I know what's going on. Let me do something here because my computer. Go boom. All right, so let me get to this. I'll pick this moment here. Yeah, this is a good one. So you could see here in the middle of the night Pacific time, you see how Venus at 29 is making this sextile to Neptune before it goes in Aquarius. And I think symbolically, you know, we're on the 17th here. It's 10 days after this that Neptune's going to go into Aries, and it's out of Pisces. We're never going to see that again in our lifetime. So just symbolically, it's interesting to have, and it seems with Pisces that things could be not ethereal, but, you know, more emotional, psychic, more internal, more like at the end. If we're dealing with the end of a cycle, you know, that's kind of wordless, you know, we're staring into the whirlpool of life. But we get to do it with Earth there. Like we get to do it with these planets with Earth. So for me, it actually can be very grounding if, let's say, Piscean transits have been very elusive for you, or you haven't been able to pinpoint what that means. And I feel that we're going to be doing this process of what it means from a Piscean perspective from the last 2.5 years with Saturn, or the big 14-year cycle with Neptune. I think we're going to process this all year long. I think we're going to have our insights like, oh, that's what that was about. But I think here we have the bridge. Like, it's not completely, our feet are on the ground, and they could be on the ground for this end of a cycle. It's not like lost, or our feet aren't touching the ground. We can't touch the ground. It's actually through matter, through physical matter, through our bodies, through Capricorn, through Earth, through Saturnian things. So it's like here, it's touchable. It can be tangible, even if it's not completely in form of what you want, whether it's your goals for the year, or what you want your community to be in, or what the safety and security thing is for you and the people that you love, or what's happening in the nation states. But there are situations like this where it helps you. It helps you bring it into a context, into a something. And if I'm a ritual guy, and I have no, like, I'm not going to quote some book that told me to do this. It's the way I feel about shit, because I'm an intuitive astrologer. And, you know, symbolically here, when the moon is balsamic, and it's another end. It's the end of the phase for the month, the lunar phase, but it just so happens to coincide with the end of something else. You can still do something in the darkest places of balsamic where you're ending and getting ready for the new, but you're retiring. And it could be you retire the stories. Finally, the emotional stories been processing last year with eclipses and Pisces and Virgo. The bigger cycles that I'm talking about. And you can symbolically do it with an object or a smell, or it's something of earth that's tangible. You feel me? Not just here, and not just here, that it's representative here. In something. I'm looking for something. I don't know what something. A red pen? That's total Capricorn. By the way, have you ever seen the movie Secretary? That's what this is. So anyway, that's a Saturnian movie, by the way, a Saturn-Mars movie. Anyway, that thing of no, this is the end, but this is something else for next, for the future. And that's what this represents in my ritual and on my temple. Just for the balsamic and going to the moon. That's what this piece or rock or crystal or whatever you need to do. It's a food. It's an offering to yourself or to whatever you worship. So basically, Venus here gets some sort of like soothing, because in Capricorn, it's had to be professional. It's had to suck it up. And it's like, these are the things during the Venus transit in Capricorn I need to, I had to deal with all this stuff with the sun and rebirth, whatever. But still, it's like a negotiation with Venus and Capricorn. Hey, these are the rules in order for us to be in a relationship. And what's the structure behind this, behind all of this and whatever. But what if Neptune comes in and puts something in, it's like, well, it's not just so, it is earth and practical, but it's for what? It's for something more, for something more and for something bigger. And you could think about this again in your personal world, but if you dare, and I mean dare in a good way, to dare to think collectively from an end of a cycle and going into new, even when it doesn't seem like out there in the world that it's going to be that, you have to dare to do it and put it into a physical presence. So saying that is what's happening in my mind, I think from a ritualistic perspective. At 12:33 a.m. that Venus is going to sextile Neptune. The Sun will sextile Saturn that day at 2:41, and it's at 4:33 a.m. that basically then I'll just pick here, that we then have the movement, and the new moon hasn't happened yet, by the way. We have the movement of Venus ingressing into Aquarius. And all you got to do is look at what's next. And it's one of my favorite things. 2 years ago, I did a series of live streams on this channel. You can go look at it. One of them is called Cerebral Obsessions. And you can go deep into my live streams. And it's when I proposed something to all of you, my viewers who have been with me for a long time, and it's coming up on the anniversary of that. So I think I'm going to have to do a special live stream here within the next couple weeks, week and a half, that focuses on what I did at that time, when Mercury, Venus, and Mars all went through Pluto at 0 degrees. And so that is what's about to happen in the second half of the month, is all these planets after the new moon, they're going to go through Pluto afterwards. And we're starting to walk into that new world. Saying that, and I'll get into the chat because I saw something just happen there. Sun will trine Uranus later in the day at 8:58 p.m. You'll see Sun here, Uranus. They're all touching Uranus, Saturn, and Neptune, the big planets. Pluto is waiting already in Aquarius. Uranus has to go back into Gemini at the end of April, but it's going to go forward before that out of retrograde. Neptune is going to go into Aries. Saturn is going to go into Aries within a month. You see what's happening here? We're walking through the door slowly, step by step. That's why I was preaching about the bridge narrative this whole month, about bridging things. So saying that, here we go. We have that Sun at 8:58 a.m., Sun trine Uranus, and later that night from the 17th, and then we'll get into the 18th, I'll be done with this weekly thing, we see Mercury, Mars will do their conjunction. It's not exact there, at 11:40 p.m. that night. Now that, along with the moon being there, it's weird, isn't it? You would think that with a transit like this, after what Mercury's trying to catch up from the rear, you know, it's following all the other planets, and the moon being balsamic, it's like, is it outward what is said? Listen, I started off this stream talking about Jupiter opposite everything. And we've seen things become outward politically this last 10 days. But I only think if we were to think about like it was a chunk or a pyramid, right? I got to go to my face for this one. So we have the typical pyramid model, or we see those graphs where like you only see the top of the pyramid and there's so much underwater. That's what's happening here with the transits this week. You see the top there, there's a lot going on, but there's so much happening under the scenes for a longer term story that I don't think people are understanding this. And so for me, when I'm looking at the transits of Capricorn, when they're going Mars and Venus and Mercury going through the sun, there are things you see outwardly, but really those who've been working it, and I've been doing this on my end, I've been secretive about a bunch of stuff. I haven't been around on socials as much, and I've been working on some things, and I'm ruminating over some things because I have a bigger plan involved. I have a bigger thing that's going on, and I'm tweaking away. It's not so secret anymore. You don't know the details, but I'm tweaking away. I'm actually laying the foundations because I'm seeing a month, 8 months, 2 years down the line in my own chart. I'm like, there's this part, there's this live stream. But really, if you're trying to understand the Capricorn transits this week and stuff on your chart with Jupiter, it's actually underneath. It's actually in secret. It's the deals are happening behind the scenes with Mercury, Mars here when we come into the 17th and 18th. We might see some obvious stuff when Mercury's opposite Jupiter, but really, there's secret stuff going on. And if anybody really understands Capricornian, Saturnian foundation work, it's not like blowing one's all energy at one time. No, they're thinking big picture. And a lot of times you don't announce things or say anything until like it's a third emotion, but no one knows if we broke it, you know, in the year and we did it in thirds. It's like, oh, a lot of the stuff I'm doing now and stuff, it's actually going to transpire when all the planets go into Aries for spring in the northern hemisphere and fall in the northern. Like the next stage actually is going to happen farther later. But no one knew that I was doing something behind the scenes and tweaking. And I think this is happening politically. I think this is happening on all levels. If you're thinking about how do I use this Capricorn energy in my chart, I would think about it that way. So saying that, when we get into next weekend and we're dealing with a Mercury-Mars conjunction, if it's going to let me do this, and the moon coming through there, it's balsamic phase, dark of the moon, it's in secret. And so for me, that's how I'm looking at it. And I'm like, I'm ritualizing and I'm preparing. Some joined the gym in the last 2 weeks. Yeah. Get it together. You didn't make it yesterday. Come back. By spring, you'll be making it every day. That's the tweaks we need to do when we're building something. It's not perfect. It's this thing, but we have to physically try. No one sees it. We do it in our own autonomous zone, our own safety security zone. But at some point down the line, if we do it the way we want, it has a strength that lasts a long time, and that is Capricorn, and that is Saturn. So if you think down the line, like if you work on it personally, it doesn't, this day and age, everybody needs, I need to post this, I need to do this, I need to show this, or, you have to catch your ego. It's like, why do you need to take some actions outwardly all the time? Is it because you're ready to do it because you've been working on something, or is it because it seems that you need to be engaged constantly, right? But if we're talking long-term and foundational that has long-lasting presence or results, most of the time it takes a while, and a lot of it is behind the scenes. So catch yourself if you think you need to react constantly in a rapid way. These are the times where you build something on the down low. And then we have our stages that we come out, and other transits will come in and help something like that. I'm trying to give you a way to look at something like this. And saying that, that's before I get into the new moon. And by the way, Mercury, I said Mercury-Mars conjunction is 11:40 p.m., 17th into the 18th. Then I will get into the 18th. It's just so much. I have class here very soon. I'm in someone else's class I got to jump into. Canada Dry, hit me up with a super chat. Good to see you. Happy New Year to you, by the way. I hope you're hanging in there in your world. You're one of my old school supporters, Canada Dry, and I appreciate you. Big blessings to you, huh? If I mess people up or miss people in this, got to go through. I said hi to Scorpio Muse, and Sarah's in here. Good to see you, Sarah Medland. Loving the bridge. Linda Calder is here. Good to see you, Linda. I saw you in another chat earlier on someone's horary Zoom earlier today. I was there. And oh, JD, dude. Did I answer your question, JD? How to use Capricorn? I might have just there. I forgot about it. But JD says, I definitely need to retire some old narratives. I'll be looking forward to that new moon video. Yeah, start doing it now, JD. Start doing it now. You know the great thing about Capricorn, because I think they get a bad rap, is, when you do set something up and you adhere to your own personal rule set with it, and you have to you work at it, and sometimes with Saturn, it's what we fear because we don't know how to do it. But when we have tools to come in so we understand it, the fear turns into wisdom. And that's something to remember. And that doesn't happen overnight. And that's the thing about things that are deeper and pillars that are entrenched, that is slowly built. And take that in. That's a good thing to have, especially as we go into air and fire this year. Thank you, JD, for that. 1111's here. Hello, Leanne Patterson. Welcome. Gwen Avier's here, like a whirlpool. Oh, that's a cool comment right there. Sweet. All right. It's the first time I paused the whole stream while I'm talking. You see it here. Moon, Mars. Moon will conjunct Mars on the 18th at 7:11 a.m. Moon will conjunct Mercury within the hour at 7:47 a.m. Moon will sextile Saturn at 9:21 a.m. Moon will trine Uranus at 9:38 a.m. And it's at 11:51 a.m. that we deal. Isn't that wild that what the moon is doing before the actual new moon is happening? And let's do this. It is here at 11:51 a.m. that we have the official new moon. It's going to happen at Capricorn at 28 degrees with Saturn and holding it down. And a Saturnian influence, it is huge in this chart. And again, we've come to this place. Again, the bridge place, and we're leaving. We're going somewhere. And I think we've been saying goodbye emotionally, I think, when we're dealing with the grand water trines of fall and winter in the northern hemisphere, and the reverse, summertime down there in the southern hemisphere. Because I always got to give a shout out to my Australians, because I love you guys, and I'm big blessings to y'all, because I know you're doing some environmental stuff right now down there. So saying that, here is new. And we're in the overlap liminal here, but I still feel strongly about the earth-water connection here. And just really think about it. Just imagine in your head, like right now, I'll do it. I'll do it with myself right now. I'll just do it with y'all. This is when I wish I had my synthesizer hooked up to this, because I do it with sound. So that's coming again. So I'm thinking about it. I see a construction zone that I have. It's like if I was building it's a dwelling, and it also has my workspace, and it has high ceilings because I have a lot of air in my chart. So my moon in Aquarius, it needs high ceilings, so the thoughts can whatever. Anyway, my structure's there, and it has this kind of atrium there. It's not like a greenhouse, but the top opens up whenever I want it mechanically, because I want the full moon to illuminate me every month when I'm sleeping or something. Or when I'm whatever. Anyway, so I have that, and so I can walk in and out of nature. So I could be indoors, and then when it starts to get nice, I can it has a garage door, actually. It has a garage door, and it comes up, and I walk out, and there's a creek. I built this next to a creek, and it's been high levels of water, a lot of rain, and it seems like it's flooding over. And God, that creek, is that my heart? Is that my emotions? Is that my last 14 years in the Pisces part of my chart? Is that what that is? And it seems like everything and nothing is in that creek. And I'm building this thing next to it. And I'm like, what is this? And I walk out, and I walk to the creek. Where's it going next? Where's it taking me? In the last year, I would go to a river in Portland, and I did a ritual every day, sometimes twice a day. I'm doing the ritual differently now, but maybe I'll do this tomorrow or next week for this. But I would find shaped, colored brown rocks, and they would have to be the brown rock. It wasn't a shell, or wasn't some regular rock, and I would find them. And I was wishing, because I've had an intense last year, and I'm doing my ritual, the water, like letting go. Asking for guidance, like, tell me where to go, show me where to go. So here I am, I'm back in my imaginary place, and I'm looking at the creek, and I'm like, I started to build this thing on earth, and here's the water, and water feeds the earth, and this thing that I'm building is like a garden, if I really think about it, and it's there, and it's my ideas, it's my vision, it's where I'm going next, what I want things to be. But even there I have doubt, and can I finish building this? Am I doing the right things? Am I have the right resources? And the times where I don't feel like I'm going to do it, or it's not right, or I think maybe I started something that's not going to last. I don't know. Yeah, maybe on this new moon I make another thing that I was guided already by my intuition and my connection to the universe and nature to throw the rock in the river. But if I listen close, the sound calms me. the movement, it will carry me. I know everything's going to be okay. Show me where to go, you know. Not only am I building this thing, but I built a canoe. And I know that I can put that canoe on the river and it will take me where to go safely. I don't know exactly how it's going to turn out, but I have the tools. I have the faith that everything's going to be okay, because when something dies and there's the end, I know, we know, there's a beginning. And I take solace and faith in that with a smile and shed a tear to say goodbye to whatever needs to go. And I know on this new moon, and Neptune goes into Aries on the 27th, and Saturn goes there on the 13th, I know I'm going to end up somewhere down there. Somewhere. And I'll be ready. And I won't be the only one. I have been taken in building my own autonomous zone and trusting myself, along with trusting the universe. And I'm going to listen. And when it seems just right, when everything just connects, I know that I am constantly aware 100%, but I'm relaxed. And when the decisive moment comes, I grab it. Next step. That is how I'm feeling and think about things. If I go to a new moon and I look at something like this, I know I'm going somewhere. I know I'm going somewhere. It's just the stage of where somebody's at, of how willing, how clenched they are from letting go, whatever else. But you got to trust things. You have to trust things. And that's why on this channel, I'm always doing this. I'm going to do it this way. There's a lot of transits I could talk about this chart. That's it. That's all I'm going to say about this, because that's how I'm going to end it. But I could do it this way because I know. For those who know, I know, let me get this out of the way. I know I'm talented enough. I've been working on it for 2 years. I've been working on this. Everybody has been, whether they know it or not, for 2 years, as Neptune has been at the last degrees of Pisces, or when Pluto was at the last degrees of Capricorn, Uranus being the last degrees of Taurus. We got the hints last summer of what is to come when Uranus went into Gemini, when Neptune and Saturn went into Aries, Pluto in Aquarius. We had a hint. We tasted what was coming. Now it's here. I have to remind myself. I can get this slideshow to work. There it is. 2 years I've been telling you all on this channel. 2 years to trust yourself, to get to this place. I've talked about general strikes. I've talked about things politically. I've talked about all types of shit. You guys know this. I've talked about the spiritual part of things. The 2 feet forward, 1 step back of the last year's transits. This only gets stronger. See what I'm saying? You're prepared. It's not perfect, but you have known. We have talked about, that's what astrology does. We've been forecasting. We've been talking on this channel about what has been happening over time. And here we are. You prepared for this. And it might not be perfect, the plan, but you have something. You prepared. You've thought about this. You have a basis of all this stuff. You've recognized your talents and your gifts. You trust those things. I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm a sweet talker. I'm a charmer. It's on my card. It's on my card. Not going to see it. It says astrologer, charmer, catalyst. I know where I stand. I know my zone. I doubt it. I have doubt right now. But I just came up with some vision thing in my head about the new moon with y'all. You guys do your own thing. Don't doubt it. You follow it. I don't, you know, we can read all the books. We can do whatever. We can look back at history. But as I've always said on this channel, you got to trust yourself and your connection to nature. There's the tools of technology. There are those who are going to put more on this. You say that the future is actually not in your physical body. You got the transhumanists. They're all about this. They just have a lot of money. They think evolution is not in our physical form, but connected to a one knowing thing through technology. Hopefully I'm not around. I'm dead when that happens. I don't want that to happen. You know what I want to happen? The thing that's always happened. I want death and rebirth. I don't want to live forever. I want to live according to nature's guidelines of how it guides me. And when the reality comes, that knowing that the Saturn clock is always ticking, that mortality is there, I cherish something like that. I don't want to alter it. For me, it's like, oh, I have this time. I'm going to do the best that I can. I have this thing. I want it. And when the time comes, and the end comes, and the death comes, I'm cool with it. I trust it. And I trust that's going to take me down the river to wherever I go. And the mystery is what I bow down to, is what I genuflect towards, is what I honor, is I don't know everything, and I'll never know everything, but I want to seek that. Take me down the river. Take me. I'm ready. So, if you're going to think about this in a physical manifestation, a spiritual sense, you do you, right? And as we get to this and we get through these places, and we're going to get this year, it's already ramped up, we start to externally express with air and fire this year. Know where you stand, trust yourself, know your autonomous zone. It is your safety place, it is your place, it's in your inherent right, it's your thing. I've been preaching about this for 2 years. You guys fucking know this stuff. I'm psyched for this. How it's crazy out there, and I'm pissed off, and a lot of us are, and we're penny pinching. And you know what? You have to assume it's gonna get harder. But what you also can more than assume is the ability for you and for those other humans, the ingenuity when it comes to change and survival and going into the unknown. We are ingenious creatures. We come up with things, we do things that are new, we do it for ourselves, and we do it with other people. If you're gonna like bank on something and wish upon, I would wish upon that because there's a proven history of it. It's a proven history of all of us jumping down the river and going and surviving and coming up with things and sword and shielding and then coming right back at with something new, whether it's up here or physically. So, don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. We give up some stories. But no. I'm exhilarated. I want to be exhilarated by life. I want to see what comes into fruition. So along with my plan step by step, at the same time, get caught up in wonder and mystery of what takes me down the line. It doesn't get better than that. That's what life is. It's what it is. So my rant is done. I really appreciate you watching. A couple things I'm going to talk about here, and I'll go into the chat and say what's up. Hopefully I can do this really quick, because it has to do with helping all of you if you are aspiring astrologers and that you're at least hyped up. I got new slides coming for that I Trust You story because it's about to get into the new thing on this channel. So that's something I got to work on. But I'm going to do a bunch of things here, okay? You're going to see it up on the screen. And it's going to be a total of 4 things before I go because I'm late for class. And what's the other one? What the hell? Oh, you can't see this one. Oh no, I could do it up on screen. Seattle. Give me a second. All right, let me see if I can do this. Here we are. Stephanie G, thanks for the super chat. Right here. Hey, it's good to see you. Happy New Year to you. He's good busting a super chat on me. Who am I missing here? Yes, good to see you, Steffi G. Earth, water equals mud. I like that reference, by the way. Happy New Year to seeing some of you in chat. Steffi G just put another super chat on me, which is basically a certain Trader Joe's bar, a chocolate bar that I'm going to get with this. Thank you. Yeah, and may everyone have the best year possible. Ice out for good. Fully with you, my friend. Fully with you. So, all right. This is the United Astrology Conference that's going to happen in September of this year in Chicago, the first week of September, an incredible conference. I am the marketplace director for this conference, which means all the vendors, I think I've sold out the vendor room. I have people on a waiting list. I'm also selling ads for this conference, for the conference program. If you want to put an ad, you're an astrologer, it's a collector's item. I'm going to even have an ad in there, whatever. But that's not what I'm telling you here. What I'm telling you here is it's going to let me do this. Is there are often scholarships to apply to go to this conference to support greater access and inclusivity. The 2026 conference offers scholarships that cover the full cost of the conference, including registration and banquet. This is in person, they're not doing hybrid. Those scholarships are intended for individuals who face financial obstacles that might otherwise prevent them from attending. We want to break down the obstacles from a Saturn-Neptune perspective in Aries, and we want to give people hope in the fire of Aries to go and get what you want. I don't know how I came up with that. Listen, I'll throw this in the chat. You can apply for it. All right? You're thinking about doing something like that, that's there. But it doesn't stop there, does it? It doesn't stop there, because I am the recording secretary for the Washington State Astrological Association. By the way, Colin Bedell spoke for us on Thursday about Saturn Neptune through Eros. It's an incredible lecture, man. That's going to go up for sale in the thing. It was such an inspiring lecture by Colin. He's just that kind of dude. You know what I mean? He's just that kind of person. It really got me psyched. We have our own scholarships that are going for the application process. I think it ends on March 1st. You could see that we're giving away 5 G's worth of scholarships. You don't even have to be a member of the Washington State Astrological Association. You sure can. You don't have to live here in the States. It's a hybrid because we do all our stuff online in person, but it's always broadcast online. You could receive up to $500 for conferences. You want to take a class, you want to buy an astrological piece of software, you could take the money and do whatever. You have to write something, you have to ask. We do this every year. We got a chunk of change to do this. We've also donated for something else I'm going to tell you after this. That link I will show and put in to here, by here. That's a good one. We've had people buy software last year, right? Had people take a class, use it for whatever. We had people using it for NORWAC, for UAC. Let's say there's a certain astrological school that you like and their teacher. You know, we've had people apply and who've qualified, received a stipend towards a school or whatever else. Again, the deadline is on March 1st. The link is in the chat, and later I will put it in the copy. WAAstrologers.com, which brings me to something else. And I see you, Tanya Stone in chat. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. It's the Northwest Astrological Conference that's going to happen on May 21st, 2025. I'm part of this conference. I help out in any way possible. I help deal with the Q&As online and a lot of stuff behind the scenes over the years. I would not be here if it wasn't for this conference. It's 17 straight years that I participated in this in many different ways. During COVID, I was part with the team with Laura and a bunch of people. Her and I came up with the online portions. We did that stuff online. Crazy times that was to live on the edge to do that. And a lot of people follow that model afterwards. I'm very proud of this conference, and I'm really proud of the diversity scholarships that have been offered for 10 years now, maybe even more. You see them right here. We have virtual scholarships for the conference, and we have the diversity scholarships, race, gender, age, if you're over 65, all this stuff. I'll drop in the link here. That is soon. I mean, if you're going to do this, I would do it this week. I mean, I wouldn't mess around. The diversity scholarship application, if I'm correct, is going to end in the next week. That's why I mentioned the 15th. Yeah, deadline to submit is January 15th, 2026. Let me read this to you. Qualified applicants who may be physically challenged, a member of a historically marginalized ethnic, gender, sexual minority, or over the age of 60, or an intersection of any and all the above can apply. In-person attendee applicant, if you do in person, they must come from US, Canada, Mexico, virtual, anywhere in the world. There's the application. I'm going to be straight up with you. You can't half-ass this application. There's so many people that apply. There's a crew of people that kind of discern what that is. Don't mess around. Do the application. Speak your truth of why and what you need. Not some superficial thing. Speak your truth as an astrologer and why and where you come from and what you're going to do as an astrologer for yourself and for the community. And it will help you with this particular application. Again, I put that other link in the comments. There's our virtual scholarship application. We have 20 full or partial virtuals. Washington State Astrological Association, has helped donate to this too, by the way. And if you have extra money out there, we actually have a fund for those who to put in the fund. So we have this fund to help people get to these conferences in person and virtually. By the way, everything I'm doing right now is my 10th house, Mars in Aquarius, Mars, Moon, North Node in Aquarius. Okay, this is how I roll. And this is the deal. Again, the scholarship link is in the chat. I will also put, did I do that one? Yeah, I put all links in the chat. Linda might be in town for the World Cup. Glad you got your visa approved. That's going to be an interesting story this year. We got a lot of people from outside the world are going to try to come into the World Cup here in the States and for the United Astrology Conference. All right, what am I doing next? Here is the Quest Bookshop. They're the Theosophical Society of Seattle. Has this bookshop. It's closed right now temporarily. Whatever the case is, I was invited earlier this week by Nicole Dement to speak for them for something that's happening tomorrow. Let's see if I can find it. If you go to my YouTube wall, my community wall, I posted the Zoom link for this. It's out of the blue that came at me this week. It's called Navigating the Stars. For 2026, there is Nicole. You're going to see Nicole there. She invited me. We're going to do this tomorrow on Sunday, 12 p.m. Pacific. It's on Zoom. It's free. You can go to this website. You can donate to all this. I'm going to do something I don't normally do in chat either. I'm going to find this. We're going to talk about the transits of this year. She's an amazing person, Nicole. She's on the board of the Theosophical Society in Seattle. She does past life regression, Akashic records, an astrologer, trained hypnotherapist, all types of stuff. Nicole's an amazing person. And I'm going to have me to contrast how we talk about the transits. It'll last about an hour and a half. Again, I was just asked to do this the other day. And I'm going to do this, I think, tomorrow. All right, we're back. Thanks for doing the audio. What did you guys hear me say last? I don't know what it was said last. I'll just do it like this. So you'll see it. I don't know what got cut off. You could see here that on this page here on my community post page is the link to the Zoom tomorrow, 12 p.m. Pacific. You got nothing to do. Come say hi and chat. Should be a different way of talking about the transits this year, more from an energetic approach, I would say, from a type of thing. So anyway, bookstore is the last thing you heard. Shit, there's a delay on this. What did you guys hear? Last. Here's this thing I'm doing for Quest Books or for the Theosophical Society of Seattle with Nicole Dement tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific on January 11th. We're going to talk about the astrology of the year. You could see that link I threw in the chat. And this here is my community post page on YouTube where it is listed, the Zoom link towards it, and you could see the graphic for it. So on and so forth. Okay. Hey, Della Luna, thanks for jumping in. Same with Tanya, would help me, and Shannon Rogers. So again, you will see here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I'm reintroducing. You're going to catch this because there's a delay. I'll put that post there. You go to my post page on YouTube, you'll see the Zoom link for tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific. Should be an interesting conversation that Nicole and I have. We're going to just talk about the major stuff, Saturn, Neptune, the eclipses, Uranus and Gemini, and whatever side rants will go on, whatever comes up on those things. Yeah. Linda says, no sweat. Geminis do it twice. That's like a bumper sticker, isn't it? Wait a second. I need to write this down. I need to make bumper sticker. I got to write that Geminis, no sweat. Geminis do it twice. Hold on a second. No sweat. Geminis do it twice. You know what I'm saying? We do it twice. 2 hands, 2, you fill in the blanks of 2 of whatever you want, okay? Thanks everybody for going on an impromptu live stream. I don't know who I have here. I have 50 people. I'm going to pause on that right there. And so on and so forth. There's my Patreon. I've got a small Patreon, people. It's not that big of a Patreon, but please come and join me on there. I building it up, and if you're a YouTube subscriber, it helps. They take more of a cut, but if you're a Patreon person, I get more. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. That link is in the comments. I threw a lot of information out at you for an hour-and-a-half stream. I went on rant. I talked about stuff for the week, and I talked about stuff for the community to help possibly any of you out there who are aspiring astrologers, need support, and need reflection, whatever, for the year. You got a bunch of stuff there. If you know people that could benefit from something like those links that I gave you or from the free lecture tomorrow, please send them the links. Share freely, okay? You're a part of the community too. If you share, it just magnifies things. And this is something that we're going to have to get used to in a way, in a new constructive way, I think, the next couple of years in our lives. It's like, hey, this is where you get the cheap meal. This is where you get the first aid equipment. This is where you get the good advice. Here's the group. Hopefully I start from my Patreon as community group that has nothing to me selling courses, that people can support each other creatively. I'm working on it. All those types of things is the Aquarius part of me. And so when we get to the transits of all the Capricorn planets leaving Aquarius and going through Pluto, it is something I'm going to be concentrating on my videos, okay? On that note, I want to thank everybody that jumped in today and that watched. Thank you for the super chat donations, everybody. All my channel members, all my Patreon members that have helped me. I appreciate you all. You're always there for me. Anybody who's made it this far and discovered me on the algorithm. My name is Nicolas Polymenakos. I'm a human being. I'm an astrologer. I'm a catalyst. I'm a trickster. I know what I'm doing. And when I don't know what I'm doing, I let it go through me. And I like what I do. I am excited for this year and what's coming up. And when things get heavy, whatever, I'll do my streams. Support each other, people. Find your people in your community. Look each other in the eye as human beings. You know what I mean? Do little things together. Build a little bridge together. You feel me? They're all out there. You're all different. You're all freaky people in your safe autonomous zone. We want that. Then there's those times where we step out. We step out and we find everybody on the corner, in the town square, right? In the cafe, in the community center, right? That's what's coming our way. More of that. Della Luna is talking about what's happened with Seattle. Yeah, they're dealing with that. So this is online. Usually it's done in person. But Nicole asked me to go speak in there. So this is all online. It's free. So anybody can watch it. But yeah, that's what's up. It's only online. I think you all are figuring it out. Again, if you go to my community page on my YouTube thing, you will see the Zoom link. On that note, I have to go. I'm going to go learn about nakshatras. And yeah, that's what. Thanks everybody. Thanks for coming in, huh? Let's end on my face. Let's end on my face. Face to face, you see and feel my. Oh, that's Billy Idol. Yeah. 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 Hey Della, one more time. If you go to my Facebook, or excuse me, my YouTube community page, there is a Zoom link there. And tomorrow at 12, when you click it, it'll put you in. There's no register. You can just go right in. Saying that, I'm going to end the stream. Got to go eat. Got to enter class. I love y'all. Take care of yourselves. Happy New Year. Until next.